doing?
How you doing? You alright, mate?
Yeah, good. You? Keeping all right?
Love that. Bought a present for me. So Dean, thanks for coming.
That's all right. It's no problem.
Quickly, just so people can understand and get a bit of a feel for where did you grow up?
So I grew up in South Bristol on a council estate. I mean, I loved where I grew up. I'm very, very proud of where I grew up, and I'm still actually local to the area. So it's I think once you get used to a certain place, it becomes your home. And even though I've sort of moved around for different bits and pieces, like university and stuff like that, I kind of always knew I was going to head back.
Does obviously you're a chef now. Does where you grow up have an influence on what you cook and how you cook?
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously we're kind of fiercely proud about the regional food, but where I grew up, I grew up surrounded by a lot of family, and that's really where my main source of inspiration comes from for food.
Your dad cooked a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, my dad cooked. I think one of the biggest things and influences on me was my nan. She,
like most people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, nans are always the best cooks, aren't they? You
Yeah.
know, you can't beat them. But for me, my nan came over to the UK from Cape Town in the 50s, and I just always remember my nan's food. You know, and it was like some of my first memories of my nan's cooking. She always had a pot of something on the go, like a curry or a Brady, which is like a South African stew. So there was always something. You know, you go into the house and there was just
put your arm up and nibble off the counter.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. So it's just there was always that smell of food. You're always like hungry. So that's really where my love of food comes from, and I guess that was dictated by where I kind of grew up. You know, because that's the memories I have.
What kind of life lessons did your family give you, like, that you've taken on into the latter stages of your life?
Definitely to work hard. As I said, you know, we grew up on a council estate and nothing was given to you. I was really lucky, actually. Kind of when I grew up, there was real problems with drugs on the estate at the time, and I was really lucky just through some foresight by my mum. She managed to get myself and my brother into a different school. So, you know, I progressed up through the schools in the local area, and then she managed to get us into a different school. And that really changed the direction of my life, you know. So I always knew from that point nothing was going to be given. I had to work hard for everything I got. And
what was that, changing schools in the area because of the bad influences?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was one of those things. It's very easy to get sucked into that kind of mentality, you know, and that sort of crowd, which, you know, my mum just didn't want us associated with. You can't, you know, pick a friends for your kids, but at the same time you can kind of have a little bit of an influence
on the environment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was tough moving away from all my friends, you know, because you anticipate you're going to go from school to school with your mates, and to go somewhere completely different and have to kind of almost start again in a school in central Bristol was pretty tough. But for me, that was the biggest thing that ever happened in my life, I believe, you know, in terms of structuring
and enabling you really to do what you do now.
Absolutely.
So you're a celebrity chef, well-known chef
at least.
But what were the jobs you had on the way to being this person who's in the front line, who's under the spotlight right now?
Yeah, I mean, how long have we got?
No, because it's important, I think. Because I think people like to know the journey. I think that's the most. I enjoy the journey more than sometimes actually when you get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
You know, absolutely. And I think we knew from a very early age we needed to work. So, you know, I mean, me and my brother, we had 2 paper rounds each per day. You know, so
you
we
look like you've had a good hard paper.
Yeah,
round.
you're not wrong.
No, I'm joking.
I'm only 28. Yeah, so paper rounds. I had my first job actually in a restaurant. I worked as a waiter for 2 years on the weekends whilst I was studying at college. Then I went off to uni, which was amazing. I was the first one of my generation in the family to go to uni, which was an amazing thing.
Was that something that was celebrated in your house?
Yeah,
well?
Massively.
Yeah,
massively.
I know friends who've gone to uni in the first one. It's like how proud the family are. It's like amazing.
Massively proud. And I'd always been a bit creative, you know, and I think that's where the cooking and everything comes together. So
what was you studying, sorry?
Photography.
Okay, wow, that's a big shift.
Yeah, but like most people, I came out of uni and I did nothing with it. Do you know what I mean? It was, for me, it was a life lesson. The life lessons I learned during uni, moving away from home, having to support yourself. So I worked all my way for uni. I worked in pasty shops, bars. I used to pick flower bulbs. That was the worst one. If someone says to me, yeah, so there wasn't a lot of work. I studied in Cornwall. There wasn't a lot of work, and the work that was around was traditionally given to the locals. So if you were a student or someone not from the area, I mean, you had the bad jobs. So
you're saying almost like you've academically you do what you do, yeah, but almost it was more impressionable for you and more important the outside,
absolutely,
the life skills that you.
Do you know what? And I think that's one thing. These life skills aren't taught at school, so you have to pick them up somehow. And just being thrust into that independence where you've got no choice but to survive. I couldn't rely on my family to support me financially, so I knew I had to work my whole time through uni. So, I mean, it is what it is. But the funniest change came after uni. Actually, I moved back to Bristol, and my dad said, "Look, if you want to go and fulfill your dream of being a photographer, you know, you're probably gonna have to head up to London." And he said to me, "Look, in the meantime,
where it's a bit cooler."
Yeah, obviously, you know, but you need a bit of money behind you to do that. So he said, "Look, come and get a job with me." And he got me a job on the roads. My dad was a mains electrician, and he got me a job working on the roads. And you know, sometimes just life happens. And 7 years later, I was still driving a digger. So, and that was my life. And actually, I was really happy and content. I quite enjoyed it. You know that
digger, pub after. Home.
Yeah, not so much the pub. Sometimes.
Or is that stereotype?
No, it's definitely not a stereotype. Yeah, you know, I enjoyed that sort of side of it, and it was, you know, I worked with a good group of lads, but at the same time, it wasn't my dream. It wasn't my dream, but you kind of get caught up in.
What was your dream then?
Do you know what? Funnily enough, I didn't really have the dream until it happened.
That was what I was getting to. That's how do you go from sitting on a digger, being happy, to becoming somebody who goes on MasterChef and all of a sudden has got the spotlight bang on them.
Yeah, it was mad, really. I had an absolute obsession when they relaunched MasterChef back in 2005. I mean, I was to rush home from work, sit the TV on, 6:30, BBC Two. I was like, right, that's it. This is me for half an hour.
I love it.
And I just loved it because whereas the old MasterChef was a bit elitist, let's put it that way.
They were cooking things that none of us had a clue.
Exactly, I didn't have a clue.
Sorry, MasterChef, but it's true.
The ingredients or anything like that, you know. But I'd always loved it, and then it was almost like normal people were taking part in this show, and I was like, End of the series came. I mean, this is how long ago it was. I think there was an address you had to write into. Yeah, and I did. I thought, do you know what? I think I'm good enough to get onto the show. No expectations after that, but appearing on that show completely changed my life. Massively.
What's been the biggest change in your life then, coming out of it? Doing so well? Because you have to remember, for anyone who doesn't know, you finished runner-up, no?
Yeah.
You runner-up, and there was actually people were phoning in complaining to the authorities saying, how has he not won it? How has Dean lost this? So what coming out of that and knowing all of that as well, is it life-changing? What's been the biggest change?
Yeah, it was crazy because I'd never imagined I would even get as far as the final, let alone coming that close to winning. And just seeing the public reaction when the show actually came out. It's funny because I had to go back to drive me digger. So we finished filming in December and the show came out in April, I believe. So I had 4 months, I had to go back driving me digger. But whilst the show was still on, we weren't allowed to tell people how we got on. So I'm on the side of the road digging, you know, and we got people beeping out, "Hey, Digger Dean!" You know, so it was mad. But as soon as that finished, I knew I had the opportunity to venture into the world of food. And I won't lie to you, it was the scariest thing I've ever done because I gave up everything.
Yeah, risk.
Yeah, like I gave up every single bit of security that I had. I gave up, and I've always been a bit of a worrier, you know. So,
how do you do that? Like, how do you? I'd find it hard to risk everything for something that is in the unknown. Do you know what I mean? How did you deal with that mentally with your family?
It was really tough, actually. It was really tough. I mean, looking back now, I'm actually shocked I did it.
Because people automatically think that is just, he's been given this. He's become a chef, he's been given it, it's all been plain sailing. So you had an element of times where you was like, I don't know whether this is going to work out and I have to go back to where I've come from.
Yeah. Do you know what? Like, I think the mad thing was MasterChef was probably the first reality show. If you look back. So there was no concept or expectation of what would happen after MasterChef. There was no precedence for it. It was just a cooking show. I thought I was going back to drive my digger, and then all of a sudden, I'm appearing in newspapers, in magazines, and I'm getting asked to do different bits and pieces, and even TV. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm just like an absolute nobody from Bristol who's going to want to see me. And it was a really crazy kind of situation. But I knew this was probably my one chance to change my life, and I did it. And I still can't believe I did it now. And it put me in the same situation I probably wouldn't do it.
Why?
I can't believe I actually did it, you know, as in it just sounds
the magnitude of what you've done is like from where you come from is a huge, it would be daunting if you knew what was where you could get to, do you know what I mean?
I think that's it, because another thing that sort of happened after that, my first ever job was after MasterChef was in a 2 Michelin starred restaurant.
Wow,
and
pressure.
That was just to go in, there were only 10 in the country at the time, so to go from driving a digger into a kitchen where chefs work their whole life to have that opportunity. You know, I knew I had to go and improve myself.
Was there resentment from people in the
No, actually, I think
kitchen?
I knew I needed to step up for one, but I had some support, and I'm still in contact with quite a few of the chefs I worked with then, because you know they knew I was at my depth, but it helped me. You know, and that
pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, and pressure it can send you one of two ways, and it was really mad. And even after that sort of time, I was getting letters. I mean, again, there was no social media.
Mail.
Yeah, I was getting fan mail. You know,
be proud of it.
Yeah, and even when I started to get offered bits and pieces on TV, and I was like, oh no, that's not for me, because who am I to be teaching people to cook when I'm just starting to learn myself? So. Yeah, it was mad, and I seriously really tried very hard to almost ruin it for myself.
So have you got past that? Because that's quite a weird feeling that people ask me to tell them how to cook, but I actually don't feel comfortable doing that because I'm not at where I need to be level-wise.
Yeah.
How have you got around that then?
So the biggest mindset change for me was, I can almost put a date on it, to be honest. It was in 2010, and I'd already been in the sort of food industry for around sort of 3 or 4 years by then, and I was offered an opportunity, and I remember my agent saying to me, look, I want you to go and try it for this morning. And I'm like, no chance, no point. Why am I going all the way up to London for nothing? It's going to waste my time, because they're never going to give it to me. And funnily enough, this an amazing lady called Sue Walton, she believed in me. You know, and all of a sudden I'm cooking on live TV with Holly and Phil.
And you're with Lorraine now, aren't you?
Yeah. So I did 9 years on Lorraine after that as well. But it was just absolute madness. But I remember one day just watching the show and looking at it and going, God, Dean, you haven't enjoyed that one bit. You know, and I'm there and I'm thinking, everything you do in life with food is enjoyment. So why aren't you enjoying it? And it was a confidence issue. And I'd always been a little bit low on confidence through life. I was really shy growing up. And it was so strange. It was almost like overnight I had a word with myself. I said, look, if you don't sort of turn this around, not only you're probably going to walk away, but they're not going to want you back either, because you're not performing to your potential, so to speak. So I just decided from that point to just enjoy it. And it was almost like a mind switch overnight. And I still can't put my finger on how it happened, what happened, but I think I was so scared of losing a chance that I kind of felt was gifted to me. You know, these chances don't come along no matter how...
But at the same time, you've had to earn it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think sometimes, no matter how hard you work at something, it doesn't always guarantee you to get you in the place where you want to be. And as I said earlier, it was almost like I was living a bit of a dream anyway. I didn't feel like I deserved to be there. So, yeah, it was crazy. But overnight, almost, I just said to myself, look, this is it. This is it. Your one chance to change your life. At the time as well, I just had my daughter, Indy.
Who I've just seen next door.
Yeah.
Massive football fan.
Massive football fan.
Liverpool
we
fan.
won't talk about her team now.
Yeah, I think she shouldn't have been allowed in the building. I've got to be
I know. That's why we told you once we were in. But yeah, like, having Indy come along changed my life, and she was 2 weeks old after I did my first show on This Morning. So she made her debut on TV. I think she was about 3 weeks old, which is crazy. But
so what I'm seeing here is there's been pressure all the way through, whether it's externally or internally from yourself. What has been the moment where you look back now and go, that was the high end of pressure that I was under during that whole spell?
Do you know what? It was definitely around the time where I made the decision to go for it. That was the pressure, because for me, there's no greater pressure than, I guess, the financial restrictions that we have, you know, and as I said, I was a dad to a newborn, you know, so all you want for your kids is security. So for me to risk it all to go, right, I'm going to chase a dream, you know, that was the moment. The fact that I did that I guess changed not only my life, but changed Indy's life as well, you know, and some of the experiences that Indy's had to have off the back of
what you've done,
we've done, you know, coming here and meeting you today. Like, it's just
got to be top of the tree, isn't it?
I mean, it's up there. It's up there in the top 500. You know? No, joking.
But what's been the best moment for you then? You've had all this success.
Do you know what? The biggest thing would be when I walked into the supermarket and saw my cookbook on the shelf.
Everyone's got a cookbook as well, haven't
they? They have now.
Yeah.
But for someone like me, No,
I mean, everyone's got one in their house.
Yeah.
Cookbooks are just something you get given as a present, or you buy them.
I think there's an old school way of thought. So just having a cookbook in your hand, there's something special about that. You know, we can all go online now or social media and find recipes, you know, recipe videos and everything that we want. But there's something very special about that. And I failed my 2 English exams, you know, and
so have you managed to do?
I have no idea. Lucky I'm good at cooking, rather than I mean, it's a far away from being a novel, that's for sure. But I mean, to just walk in there and see my cheesy grin on a book in a supermarket, I'm thinking, wow, that was the moment I thought, that's a game changer for me, because if I don't do anything else in my entire life, that's always going to be there, you know?
And it sounds like, from what I see as well, I've looked up on some of the stuff you've been doing over the years, you put a lot of work in. There's a lot of graft that goes in. Have you ever been anywhere near burnout? Because that can happen.
Yes and no. So I look at it in 2 ways. Not many people get to do something they only dream about doing. So I still, and I'm talking, 17 years on since I went on MasterChef.
Wow.
I mean, I know what you're thinking. I was about 12 when I was on but to just kind of see where I've come and the fact I'm still doing what I'm doing, and it seems to get better and better. You know, I do pinch myself every day that I do that, but there is hard work that comes into it. You know, and a lot of my family and friends, they think I do nothing. You know, they think I don't do anything, but you know, I'm constantly at home. I'm cooking. I'm creating. I'm creating recipe videos. I'm creating content, and I think that's one of my biggest inspirations now. Like, social media has changed the game for so many people, and for me, it's become a huge part of my life. And in terms of,
you've got Dean Edwards proper food, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm on YouTube, but you know,
the family all on that.
Yeah. So I'm across all the social media platforms as well, and for me, I get a massive buzz out of helping people to gain the confidence to cook. You mentioned it earlier. Confidence is absolutely
key.
Everything. You know, it's everything. And so many people see a recipe and they go, I can't do that. And if you're not confident, you take everything so literally, you know, and it's like, okay, we do this. But with that little bit of confidence, you kind of get that little bit of flair. You go, actually, I've got a couple of carrots in the fridge.
Yeah, throw it in.
It's not going to ruin the recipe, and all of a sudden you're knocking up amazing meals.
Mad meal.
Yeah.
Do you know, you just mentioned something that I'm quite interested in, is family and social media. What's your family and social media relationship like?
It's a tough one actually, because Indy's at that age now. She's delving into the world of social media.
How old is she?
13.
13, okay.
And you can look at it in two ways. You can kind of say, right, okay, you can almost restrain them a little bit in terms of what you allow them to see and what you allow them to do and how much time they spend on it, which is I think is a good thing. But at the same time, I think it's about educating your children to use social media in the right way, in the correct way. As you know, there's a lot of idiots on social media. There's a lot of hatred on there, but there's also a huge amount of positivity as well. And that's something that I like to bring across in my social media. But for me, it's very important that Indy knows the correct ways to use social media, because it's a game changer for us all. You know, we're all living in a world where social media is huge and it's not going away. So it's about using it in the correct way and the right way. And for me, that's a massive lesson for Indy.
Just before we go, I see you got a bag on your
Yes.
side there. You bought me something, have you?
Right, so
Let's see what this is.
you want to see something special to me. Right, so this pot here,
Okay.
this was my nan's pot.
Oh,
Right,
we
so-
spoke about your nan before.
Yeah, exactly. Who was my biggest influence. You can see how battered it is. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely ruined. Right, my nan cooked some magical things in this pot. I've actually got a picture when I was about 6 years old, cooking at my nan's, and this pot's in the background.
Wow.
But, you know what I mean? It's ruined. It was an old pressure cooker, but, I mean, probably can't even get the lid off now, it's a bit cold. But everything that I cook in here just tastes better. You know, so when I'm knocking up one of my nan's curries,
You still use it now?
yeah. This is to be used. If I'm cooking up one of my nan's dishes, one of my nan's recipes, there's no
Just
other
one
pot
thing
for
I
it to
need
go
from
in.
you. So you know when you're cooking, you're trying to cook like either curry or something with sauce and create
Yeah.
that sauce. Having the lid on, completely on a low heat, is that the best way to have the sauce to be able to stay like?
Yeah, all depends on what you're looking to cook in it. If you're looking to cook something nice, low and slow, like my nan always used to use chicken thighs, so they benefit from nice slow cooking. So yeah, lid on then, maybe with a little gap. You want it just to cook nice and gentle. If you want to thicken the sauce up, lid comes off, turn the heat up a little bit, you know. So it's all about, but that's coming from knowledge and confidence.
Yeah.
But some magical things have been cooked in
Because
this
I'm the
pot.
sauce man in my house.
You're the sauce man.
Yeah.
What's
I
your
bring all
favourite?
the sauce.
What's your recipe then?
Favourite recipe? I like brown stew chicken.
Love Caribbean food.
Yeah, brown stew chicken.
Yes. Love it.
Nice,
We
nice.
got a big Caribbean community in Bristol, so I grew up
Okay.
eating Caribbean food,
Oh,
and
is
that's
it?
like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's my
That's up there for
go-to.
me.
The time's so important. The time.
So you're going to slip me the recipe for the next book?
Rio's favourite.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, good. I've got a couple of quick fire ones for you, by the way. Just touched on one there for me. What's your best meal?
My best meal. Do you know what it would be? So my nan's tomato Brady, which is a lamb curry. It was scrag end of lamb neck she used to put in there on the bone, potatoes, chili, tomatoes. I mean, that would have
Well, my watering already.
Yeah, it's lush.
Guilty pleasure.
Do you know what? It's got to be chocolate. I'm an absolute fiend for chocolate.
What chocolate?
At the moment, it's Curly Whirlies.
Oh, they're old school.
Yeah,
Gone old school.
Out the fridge.
Wrigley's.
You got to snap them
Yeah.
into little bits.
In the
and-
fridge is nice when it comes out the fridge.
Got to be out the fridge.
Last meal.
Last meal, got to be steak and chips or Rio's brain stew chicken.
And listen, breakfast of champions. This is my most important meal, which I
Okay.
missed today to come here.
Right. Okay. So my favourite breakfast, and I think part of the reason why I enjoy it so much is because I can't get it very often. You know, when you go to Spain, you get the bread and they have the kind of grated tomatoes, a little bit of garlic, maybe some ham on there.
Yeah.
Right. That is banging. You can't do it in this country because the tomatoes are terrible.
Is that why?
Well, they're just not the same. We don't get the same sun, we don't get the same heat, so you never get the same flavour. So, I mean, tomatoes in Spain and Italy and France, I mean, they just...
Bruschetta.
Yeah, I mean, it's levels above. But that's one of the key things. Simple food is sometimes the best. Like, you know, caprese salad, 3 ingredients.
Yeah.
Tomato, mozzarella, basil.
Getting
You know?
hungry, man.
That's it.
Dean, listen, lovely
Rio,
speaking to you,
thank you
man.
very much.
Thanks for your
Thanks for
time.
having me.
Brilliant.